Today I want to talk about reharmonization. Yesterday in a lesson, one of my students asked how to reharmonize a standard, and so I'd like to go over that in real time. I'm going to pick the tune, Take the A Train, since that's what my student was recommending we try to do. First, I'd like to say that reharmonization should be done with care because I think the original versions are exceptional. We're talking about people who wrote songs for a living and did it for their entire lives. They're exceptional tunes, and we don't really need to reharmonize standards. However, it is a common practice among jazz musicians to reharmonize standards, especially if you're doing big band arrangements. Oftentimes each section might be reharmonized to create more interest harmonically. So in this case, I'll look at Take the A Train by Duke Ellington, Billy Strayhorn, and talk about how I go about reharmonizing and thinking about reharmonization. So first, let's take a look at the original chord progression. So here is the simplified version of the changes to Take the A Train in the key of concert C. We'll start by reharmonizing the A section. So the first thing to do is to think about the melody. I haven't included the melody on this lead sheet for copyright issues, but we all should pretty much know the melody to Take the A Train. Starts on a concert G. The initial melody uses a C triad. In the first bar, we have to come up with a way to reharmonize this melody. So the first thing I like to do is think about in terms of the harmonic rhythm. Should it be 2 bars of the first chord? In other words, if that's the case, then all 3 notes of the melody, in this case the C major triad, need to work over the chord. If I want each of the individual notes to be reharmonized separately, then I could have 3 separate chords. In general, I try to think about improvisation and how this tune will be to play over, and so I think having 1 chord per bar or 1 chord every 2 bars, just as the original is, would probably be a good starting point. So in this case, I'm going to think about a chord that works for 2 bars. You could just put the C major over a pedal point like G or E or even F sharp, but I'm going to try to find a chord that is not C major. So let's think about this. So here's our melody. What different roots would work? So the first thing I do is chromatically go through roots and play the melody and see if one sticks out to me. So here's C. So often when I'm playing the different roots, if one stands out and I like it, I try to figure out what possible chords that could be. So here's B in the bass. I'm not super moved by having B in the bass with this melody. Here's B flat. That's nice. So in this case, that could just be a C triad over B flat, C over B flat. That would work fine. It could also be B flat 7. Or it could be B flat major 7. A lot of options there. There's more. Let's go to A. So that kind of implies A minor, perhaps. So the relative minor to C, that could work. Let's go to A flat. So that's an interesting sound. That would be a A flat major 7 sharp 5 sound, or C over A flat. Sounds fairly modern for this melody. So this might be nice if you're trying to make it very modern, like Richie Byrack maybe. Let's go to this next root. So G in the bass, this could be G sus. Here's another thing I think about. I don't usually like the root of the chord to be in the melody. So in this case, if the melody starts on G, putting G in the bass creates octave unisons, and there's not a lot of actual harmony going on between the bass and the melody, and I like the bass note and the melody note to be different. That's a personal preference. You can definitely ignore that. F sharp. So that could be F sharp 7, like C over F sharp, coming from F sharp 7 altered, or F sharp 7 half whole diminished, and several other scales as well, but it's an interesting sound. And then we've got F in the bass, the 4 chord of the key. That sounds pretty to me. So C over F, or F major 7 with no third. Okay, I really like that sound. I think it makes the melody sound pretty and not too dissonant. I think that's a nice way to start a song. Okay, go to E. could just be C with E in the bass. It also could be E altered. That would be nice. I like that. Okay, E flat. Okay, that could be E flat 7. So E flat half whole diminished. Down to D. D minor maybe. D sus. Half. Or F minor major 7 over D, which is D half diminished. That's nice. I like that. Down to C sharp. Okay. Also interesting. C sharp diminished major 7, or C over D flat, C over C sharp. So those are all interesting sounds. My favorites were C over F, E altered, and C over D flat. I think all three of those chords have a really nice potential for this 2-bar chord. Let's move on to bars 3 and 4, and we can reverse engineer our choice for bars 1 and 2. This is often part of the process that I like to use. So we usually have a D7, and the melody goes from the 9 to the sharp 11. Let's do the same process here on these two notes. Okay, if it were C sharp, that could be a C sharp minor. If it were C, it could be C major 7 sharp 5, or C dominant 7 sharp 5. Let's go to B. So that could be E major in second inversion. Or it could be B sus, sus 13. It could also be B minor 6 with an 11. That's pretty. Okay, let's go to B flat. That could be a B flat half diminished. It could also be B flat 7. So far, none of these are grabbing my ear. Let's go to the next root. Okay, A sounds nice. A would be A major or A minor major. Those are both nice options, I think. But I'll also bring up the fact that E over A is similar to C over F, which is one of the options for bar 1. So it makes me think immediately, I like this symmetry here. How would this sound? I would give us something like this. I'm hearing minor major 7 if I do that. A nice option, C over F to A minor major 7. I can go on and look for more chords, but I'm starting to like this already. Let's just go on just a little more for bars 3 and 4. So A flat in the bass. Again, we would have one of the melody notes duplicated in the bass, so I tend to avoid that. If it's G in the bass, it could be G7 13 flat 9. Sounds good. F sharp in the bass could be F sharp minor or F sharp 7. Also works nicely. F in the bass, that would be F minor major 7 possibly. Could also be E over F, like F diminished major 7. Also pretty, and that gives me the thought of, so that might be good if we created symmetry from bar 1. Could have C over C sharp, and then have E over F. So we'd have 2 diminished major 7s as our first 2 chords. That might be a little bit too harmonically intense, but could be cool for some people. That might be more what they're going for, like a very complex harmonic context for the melody. That's up to you. That's your choice. I'm going to lean more on this first choice, the C over F going to A minor major 7. So far, I like that the most. Let's go a little further. If we put E in the bass, we have E in the melody, so I tend to avoid that. Then we've got E flat. All right, maybe a little dissonant for my taste. This would be E flat 7, flat 9, sharp 11. So we've checked out all the roots for bars 1 and 2 and bars 3 and 4. I think I'm really liking the C over F and then A minor major 7. So instead of F major 7, I'm going to call that C over F, leaving the third out. It's a little more ambiguous, but when we improvise over it, it will be a major sound, F major 7. You can do the same thing in bar 2 and make it E over A, and then have it A minor major 7 for the blowing, but I actually like hearing the C natural in this voicing. Okay, so now we're in bar 6, and in bar 6 the melody note is A, so we have C sharp. That could be a C sharp altered sound, or it could be A over C sharp, or it could be C sharp half diminished, which is very similar to A over C sharp. We have C. C could be C7 13. It could be C major 7 13. Sharp 11. Could be C minor 6. It's pretty sounding, I like that. Could be a very bright C half diminished from B flat harmonic major or B flat harmonic minor. Okay, let's go down to B. For B, it could be B7, it could be B minor 7. B half diminished. The 7th as a melody note isn't super colorful, it's structural. B flat could be B flat major 7 or B flat minor major 7. Those are both nice choices. A minor, again, we'd have that in the root, or A major, so I'm going to avoid that. A over A flat could be A flat 7, 13 flat 9, or altered over G. A over G, that could be G7 sharp 11, 9, or G major 7 sharp 11, 9, or G major 7 sharp 11, 9. Could be G minor major 7. That's pretty. Could be G half diminished, natural 9. It could be G diminished major 7. Let's see, F sharp. It could be F sharp minor. It could be F sharp altered. That's nice. It could be F sharp half diminished. It could be F sharp minor major 7. A lot of options. Back to F, which is our original chord on bar 1. F major, F7. I'm not liking those two choices. E minor could be nice. E minor 11. Or E sus. Or E sus flat 9. Those sound nice. E flat could be E flat major 7 sharp 11. Ooh, that's good. E flat 7 sharp 11. Also good. Like those two. So those are all nice. I kind of like the E flat major 7 sharp 11. I kind of like the B flat major 7. So now let's think about it in the context of what we've written so far. That'll help us get a little further. So now if it were B flat, that's nice. A minor major 7, moving up a half step to B flat major 7 sharp 11. Let's try going from A minor major 7 to E flat major 7. It's also nice. I think either of those is very good, so I'm going to write down both as an option. Now let's look at bar 6. So this is where reharmonization is going to get a lot more difficult because we have such a chromatic line. This is the line. We have this very complex chromatic line, and so this is where the reharmonization will be most difficult. Let's just look at this first melody of the two. If we think of this as two melodies, we could leave the original chord, of course, since we're reharmonizing. You don't have to reharmonize every single chord. But let's see if we can come up with something else. Okay, so let's try F sharp. That could be F sharp minor. This major third in that case would be kind of passing. Since the B flat or A sharp is on a weak beat, we can kind of ignore that in the reharmonization. That'll be a passing note. The A, the B, and the E are the main notes that we need to think about. F sharp half diminished. It could be F sharp sus. Let's go to F be F sharp major 7, sharp 11. It's more or less our starting chord, so I'm going to maybe not use that. E. Could be E minor. Again, E is in the melody, so I'm not going to want that. E flat. That would be an E flat 7 sort of sound. Sharp 11, sharp 5, flat 9. All right, D. D minor, more or less like the original. Could be a D7. Could be a D major 7. Let's go to C sharp. B A over C. C sharp half diminished. Or it could be C sharp altered. That's nice, I like that. C could be C major 7. B. It could be B minor. It could also be B sus flat 9. B half diminished. That's nice, I like that. And that's very similar to the original chord G7. B half diminished is an inversion of G7 with B in the bass. E flat. That would be a major 7 and a flat 9. Probably not going to use that. Too dissonant for my taste. A is in the melody and the bass. I'm going to avoid that. A flat. All right, that's nice. A flat altered. Sharp 9, sharp 5, flat 9. That's nice. I am liking the B half diminished since it's so similar to the original chord, which was G7. It does have the, we would have the B natural in the melody temporarily and the B in the bass. But the main notes are our A and our E, so I think I could deal with that in this instance. I also do like the C sharp altered. That's really nice sounding. Those are probably my two favorite sounds for that bar. Let's put those in as potential chords. Let's go through the progression and see what combination of bars 5 and 6 work best, horizontally speaking. So we've got C over F to A minor major 7 to B flat major 7 to B half. Works very well. I like this. I like this chromatic root motion. A to B flat to B. C over F to A minor major 7 to E flat major to C sharp altered. I don't like the bass motion as much, but I do like the sound of the chords. It sounds interesting. It's also surprising because the bass motion moves by tritone and then by third, which is interesting. B flat to C sharp altered. Okay, that works nicely. Up a half step and then up a minor third to the dominant, kind of like a Coltrane cycle. So if I had to pick right now, I would just pick the B flat major 7 sharp 11 going to the B half diminished, mainly because I really like the root motion moving up chromatically. So I'm going to go with that. Let's harmonize this next part of the melody. Could definitely just stay B half diminished. We would have, let's go down to B flat. Well, that's pretty. B flat minor, I already like that. So then we'd have B half diminished to B flat minor. That's great. It could be B flat minor major or B flat minor 7. Kind of like B flat minor major. Could also be a dominant. Okay, let's move on. So we could also have it be A7. Let's go to A flat. It could be A flat minor major 7. F sharp would give us 3 half steps in a row, so that's not going to work unless it's a synthetic scale. So I'm going to avoid that one. F, doubled roots again. E could be E7, 13 flat 9. With a flat 9 and a sharp 9. Okay, let's try E flat. It could be E flat 7, D7, D in the bass could be D minor major 7 with a passing major 3rd on a weak beat. That's interesting. And that relates directly with the G7. C sharp 7, sharp 11. That could work. I don't like the doubled octaves there. So C in the bass could give us C sus flat 9. That's nice. Go to B. B7, sharp 5, sharp 11, 9. Whole tone sound. Or B half diminished, which is what we already talked about. All right, we've gone through all of our options. I just like the B flat minor major 7. It seems like the most obvious choice to me. So I'm going to put that in the chart. We just have to figure out how to resolve it. The obvious solution is to just resolve it back to the C over F sound because that's where we started. Let's think about how that would sound. Yeah, that sounds really nice. So I'm going to put that in. In some cases, you don't need to try a bunch of chords if you're happy with it. If you want to be more thorough, then go through all your roots and see if there's a better resolution point for the end of the melody. So we have a really nice, pretty sounding reharmonization. It'll be fairly easy to blow over, and yet capturing a different feeling for this nice melody that Billy Strayhorn and Duke Ellington wrote. All right, let's look at the bridge. We have original melody. Interestingly enough, we could, since we started on F, we could go to B flat on the bridge because that would be the same relationship as the original, going to the 4 chord. Ostensibly, we've taken the tune and put it in the key of F instead of C, and so now the bridge 4 chord would be B flat. So that's just intellectually something I immediately think about. Let's hear how that sounds. B flat major, and it would be a sharp 11. That sounds great. In fact, I'm going to go with it right away. I just think it sounds, and it's really logical since we put it in the key of F to go to the 4 chord on the bridge, just like the original. If you wanted to, you could go through all those reharmonization approaches that we've covered so far. I'm going to try to start with just having it be 4 bars like the original tune, just keeping the harmonic rhythm very similar. So we have... and this would be bar 5 of the bridge. Let's think about this bar 5. So our second melody on the bridge is this. And that creates this F sharp half diminished chord or A minor 6 chord. And so another way to find out how to harmonize that nicely is just to play the roots against that entire voicing. For instance, the original chord was D, so this is what that sounds like over D. So you can hear it's a beautiful dominant 9 voicing. So let's just go down chromatically with that voicing and see if anything sticks out to our ears. So here's C sharp, ugly or too dissonant. Potentially works, not better than the original. Sus flat 9 sound. A minor 6, A flat, altered dominant. G gives us a sus with a 13 and a 9, and major 7. It's not going to work for me. F sharp, give us like a F sharp half diminished, or F sharp altered even, or F sharp altered. F, no, 3 half steps. E sus with a flat 13 and a 9, 5th mode of melodic minor, probably not. E flat 7 or E flat diminished 7. I do like that F sharp altered, so coming from B flat major. And then F sharp altered. We do have the doubled root as the F sharp, but it's very brief, so I think I like that. We went to G minor in bar 3 of the bridge so that the bass motion walks down a little bit more. That's nice. Okay, so B flat to G minor to F sharp altered. Okay, let's see what the last 2 bars of the bridge will look like. So F sharp altered might want to go to B7. That's pretty. It would be a B minor 11. We'd have to figure out how to get back to F from B minor. We can go directly, just jump from B minor to F. So that would be B flat minor. So in the key of F, that'd be 4 minor to 1, a very common cadence. So that could work nice. Minor could also go to E7. That's also nice. I also like the E. I'm going to go with the E7. I think that's just a cool. So the last 2 bars of the bridge came really easily. Cadence from F sharp altered to B minor, and then B minor E7. At E7, let's put a sharp 11 on that. So here I have my finished reharmonization of Take the A Train. One of the main principles in this instance is that I put it in a different key. I kept the melody in concert C, but I put the entire reharmonization in concert F. That's something to think about when you reharmonize, maybe just resituating the melody in a different key. So that's a very simple way to think about reharmonization. Obviously, it depends on having a fair amount of craft. When I say craft, I mean understanding theory, just knowing your theory well enough so that you have a multitude of options to put in front of your ears to make choices. And the more options you can put in front of your ears and the better your ears are trained, the more sophisticated and more logical your reharmonizations will be. They'll sound more musical, and that will help them be enjoyed by the audience and the other band members. Once again, I'm not a huge advocate of reharmonization, as I think it's fairly pretentious to think that we could possibly write something better than Duke Ellington or Billy Strayhorn, but it is an excellent exercise, and it teaches you a lot about the craft of writing and developing a skill set. So this is a great way to write original pieces as well. Reharmonize a standard, then write a new melody over it, and now you have your own original tune that is loosely based on, in this case, Take the A Train. I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. My name is Matt Otto. I'm a tenured professor at Kansas University. You can visit mattotto.org for hundreds of free lessons and PDFs. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.